Welcome to Gold Derby's Reality Nonfiction Emmy panel. I am senior editor Marcus James Dixon, and we are here with Michael Williams, the producer of Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning on Peacock. This show is based on the international best-selling book of the same name. And I'm curious, Michael, how did it come about that it would be adapted into a docuseries on Peacock?
Someone about 3 years ago sent us the book, and we read it. It's one of these books you can read in an hour and a half, and thought it was sort of right up our alley. Being producers of Queer Eye for many years, thought we'd be attracted to it, and immediately we read it and said, we have to do this. And in the process of developing it and getting ready to pitch it out, I actually started doing the process of death cleaning, which is basically going through all of the stuff you have in all your crap and everything you have. So one day you don't pass it on to your kids or to your family, you're stuck with it. So even since for 3 years, it's a long, slow process. In our show, we do it much quicker, but we never cover the whole thing. But it's a process people could, in Sweden, they talk about death, and a lot of people don't have storage units in Sweden. It's like they found it amazing. All the people, our heroes that we did, had storage units. And they're like, why do you have storage units? And we're like, oh, for stuff we have. What for? So it's that process that we hope catches on, that people start doing this in their lives. Empty out storage unit people will probably be very unhappy with our show. But the decluttering businesses will probably be very happy with it. But it's a fun process. And we got the IP, went out and pitched it to Peacock, and they said, let's do it. Let's cast. We wanted a real Swedish cast. So I had our casting team just dig into Sweden. And in the casting process, we were kind of disappointed with the numbers of people we got, and then we finally realized someone who worked, our showrunner at the time, said, you realize the entire population of Sweden is less than LA County. And then a lot of them, Swedes are, unlike in certainly LA County or in America, you say, hey, do you want to be host a TV show? They didn't want to have anything to do with it. So it was hard, but we got a terrific cast. I think we flew in about 10 to 12 people from Sweden to LA to do our little casting session for a couple days and mix and matching, and came out with this really terrific team. We have an organizer, a designer, and a psychologist, and they all work really well together, and they're terrific characters.
Watching the show, I look around at my own apartment and I'm like, well, I could get rid of that. I don't need that. Like, if I were to die tomorrow, I want to clean this out for my family so they don't have to. Did you kind of feel the same way? Like, did it make you look at your own stuff?
Oh, I've been doing it. In fact, I did it for our office. I went to our office storage unit, which, of course, as you know, with storage units, they just keep up the price over the years, and you just, I'll deal with it one day. I moved all of it into an empty, because of COVID, our office sort of emptied out. We lost all the post people, as we all know, work at home these days. So we had this big bag, and I just brought all the storage, and once a week, I'll spend an hour or two with my assistant, because unfortunately I have to go through it. It's a lot of corporate-y stuff, that personal memorabilia, and go through it once a week for a couple hours, just so one day you don't have, do my daughters want all the press reviews of The Fog of War, or the original Queer Eye from Bravo days? So they want all that stuff. Yeah, it's fun to look at it when I go through it, but it's like, really, I'm going to pass this on? So
Amy Poehler is a producer on the show, and she also does the narration, and her dialogue is so funny. She's basically a character on the show that we just don't see. She's off camera. Was she always on board to be the narrator, or did that decision come later?
Pretty early on. We went, before we were pitching out, we were talking about just the title alone, because obviously the title has death in it, and Americans don't really like to talk about death, and it was sort of off-putting. And our agent suggested, getting a comedic tone to it. And they also represented Amy. And then strangely enough, her child and my kids are in the same class at school together. And one of the moms introduced us through school. So then we got together. She loved it. And she agreed. Her brother, who lives in Sweden, who's lived in Sweden for many, many years, and she's been there many times. She just knew the Swedish sensibility. They're a little, more reserved, and she liked that. And so her narration would go into just make things a little lighter and funny, and then question the Swedish sensibility versus the American sensibility. So it melded perfectly together. I think it really needed it, and makes it fun.
Ella is the organizer, Yuan the designer, and Kat the psychologist. They're so full of warmth and kindness, and they also have this little naughty edge, which I love about them. Can you talk about what they bring to the show?
Well, they bring their expertise, for one. You just said, Katarina is a psychologist. She's done TED Talks. She does, what's it called? Acro yoga. She talked about picking people up in yoga and releasing their energies and all that sort of stuff. But she's able to dig in deep with our heroes. We filmed in Kansas City, Missouri, the Kansas City area, so Kansas as well. And she gets to talk deep about personal issues. One of our heroes was actually has stage 4 cancer and didn't have kids, and didn't want this truck coming and emptying out her place. But also, none of her friends would mention the word cancer to her. And Katarina was able to just bring that out. And in a beautiful scene with her, she talks about, you have stage 4 cancer. And our hero said, you are the first person besides my doctor who said that to me. Her friends, relatives, no one said that. So she's the great psychologist. Ella is this organizer. Get rid of this crap. Keep this. Here's a personal box, little things that you want to hold on to, a scarf that your mother had that brings you flooded memories. Keep it in a box. Keep it to yourself. And then there's the box that you don't want anybody to find after you die. Whether it's in our first episode, Susie has Thumper, a sort of a toy.
If you know, you know.
And get rid of. And Yuan just helps with the design. And it's not a design show. We do have a makeover element, and very lightest Scandinavian touch. To me, I keep saying that's the frosting on the cake of the makeover on this show are the people, because besides decluttering their house, we declutter their hearts and souls. And the reveal is personal, usually with Kat, and the reveal with their house, to me, is secondary. I know some people watch it just for that part, but to me, that's the secondary reveal. It's more about this transformation of people and their attitude.
Mm-hmm. And how did you find the participants? You're mentioning them as heroes. How did you find some of these folks in Kansas City that were? We
hired a casting company that actually Amy Poehler worked on baking it, that went and found real people, and we had meetings with them and liked them. And they're even based in Minneapolis, but they just put their team together and do what reality casting people do, is just get the word out. And the main part is we had 8 episodes, and every single story is different. There's just, not just, it's, they're empty nesters. One family they had 8 kids, but all 8 kids are grown and moved out, but all their rooms are filled like they were still in high school. And the people wanted their house back, and someone whose wife had died and had this collection of stuff. His new fiance wouldn't move in until he cleared out all his stuff. So it's a great variety of 8 different stories.
And each episode has this little intermission called a fika, a coffee break. Where did this idea come from? It's so fun. It kind of takes you out of the main story, and you're just spending time with these 3 Swedish death cleaners.
Well, when we were doing the research on it, fika is coffee break in Swedish, basically, but everyone takes it way more seriously than we do. In Sweden, around 10 o'clock, you have fika. You sit for coffee and little snacks and cakes, and it's a big, big tradition. And when we were hearing about it, I think our hosts were telling us about it. I said, oh, we have to include it. We have to have fika. We have to start doing this. And it's fun. And they get to talk about what they were doing, our hero. And we also have them talk in Swedish. And we have a lot of, we like throwing in Swedish phrases and words, and we do a little lower third of what they mean, and so it makes it a little fun and makes them more Swedish. So we just want to reiterate that these people are from Sweden, because in Sweden, after reading this book, we thought, oh, we just look up death cleaners in Sweden. It's really not a profession. People do it as a practice. It's like spring cleaning here. You don't look up spring cleaners, but people do it as generally a practice. So,
Well, it's such a fun show, and best of luck at the Emmy Awards coming up, Michael. Thank you for chatting with us today.
Thank you, Marcus.